Geez, I am originally rescheduled this meeting, this broadcast from 10:30 to 11:30, and I'm also 22 minutes and 22 seconds uh, late. So 1,000 apologies if you have been waiting. We're going to cover a very interesting topic tonight. Every night's an interesting topic, but this is an extra special topic tonight. One of my favorites, um, which is cold calling. And I was introduced to cold calling probably about 10 or 12 years ago, where I actually worked for free for someone because I wanted to I needed to break through some blocks around phoning people. And I thought, I was looking for just something to do at that time. I believe I was in between jobs, and I thought, okay, let's take, let's find a role where I can just phone people and start talking to them. And it was the most difficult thing, phoning someone that you don't know, that you've never met, and starting to talk, establishing rapport and starting to talk to them. And it felt very uncomfortable. The hardest part about, you know, phoning people was actually picking up the phone and dialing those numbers. It was almost like your body went into shutdown mode. But after a few times, after a few days, you just got into a bit of a rhythm and you just did it. And even if you felt uncomfortable, sick to the stomach of having to pick up that phone and dial the numbers, you just did it. And now, 12 years later or 15 years later, I can't remember how long ago it was. I love cold calling. I love phoning people. I love talking to people. So it is a bit of a conditioning to break through that uncomfortableness, but there is light on the other side. So today, what we're going to do is really start the process of demystifying, what is a sales call? How difficult is it? What do you need to do in it? And and really go through, some of the steps of how we do it. We're not going to cover everything tonight. We're just going to make a start and go through the introduction of what it's all about. And, the eventual outcome of this series of, talking about sales calls is for us to go through and create a script. And you can follow along and create a script for yourself and start to utilize it. Even if you hate cold calling, once you see this process, you'll see how powerful it is. And if you personally, if you really dread making those calls, you can find someone to do it that actually loves doing it, and that, they've done it so many times, it's just natural for them. So, in this light, this is a fantastic thing to become familiar with. And, I want to make sure that you are empowered to do this for your business. And if there's some kind of resistance, even when I said, get someone to do cold calls, ask yourself the question, is it about your business, that you don't want to cold call, or is it about you? And if you can kind of differentiate those two things and go, well, will cold calling benefit my business in the long term, in the short term, by getting exposure to my brand, um, getting exposure to my products, to my niche customers, or not? And if you really honestly have done that homework and thought, okay, no, it's not actually going to help, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not for your business. But I will say 9 times out of 10, most businesses will benefit from cold calling as part of your, lead generation strategy, as part of your brand awareness strategy for you to get known in your business. So it is just one of many things you can be doing quite easily starting, now. Not right now because it's probably midnight in Australia, most states in Australia. But if you're watching from around the world, this is something definitely to start to do. So what we're going to go through is a little bit of a presentation. So initially we're going to do a bit of a presentation, and then, in the coming videos will go through and actually create a um, cold calling script that you can follow along with. So there we go. This is the presentation. Now I'm going to just test something out here. If I go into slideshow, I am wondering if it will show. Now, hang in there for a minute. I'm going to just test this process out. If this is actually working in full presentation mode. I appreciate your patience. I'm going to check on my phone if I can. Here we go. Facebook. This is all done live. There's no editing. So I want to make sure this is actually working before we go ahead and you can actually see what I am doing. Okay. So here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Harsha. Let's see if we can see it. All right, there I am. There I'm live. You can see it. That's awesome. So there you go. We've just clarified if you go to full screen presentation within Google Sheets, it actually shows it in full screen. Excellent. All right, so sales calls. So what we're going to start off with initially is, and this is a really important part of the puzzle, okay? People start to do cold calls. I certainly started to do cold calls in a bad frame of mind, thinking that the customer wasn't going to talk to me, that they weren't going to be, nice. And what did I attract? I attracted all these people who either hung up the phone. I attracted, the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers, once you get to know the gatekeepers, what a gatekeeper is, basically, you phone a business and there's a gatekeeper and their sole job is to not let those calls through that don't need to get through because the people beyond that gate, whether it be the CEO or the managers, they've got, many important things to do in the business and they don't want to be bombarded with sales calls, right? So you can think of gatekeepers in a negative way, but a gatekeeper is actually someone you need to know how to establish rapport with. So once you do that, they become your best friend, your advocate. And how do you do that? By making calls and establishing rapport and getting to know them on a human level. So the gentleman on my left here is quite frustrated. And many people go through this process of, well, why are they getting frustrated and making all these calls, but it's not really yielding any benefits, right? So it's important to, really look at your mindset, look at your emotions before you even pick up that phone. That is the first thing you got to do. Look, create a state in your mind. You might need to jump up and down a little bit or smile. I find when you're making calls, it's better to actually stand up. So if you can get a little headset or something that you can talk hands free, move your arms around, you're more expressive, and that energy will flow through into the call. It is quite an active process. You don't want to be getting a phone and just kind of like hunched over, talking to people like this and boring the hell out of them. And the only thing that they'll want to do is hang up on you, right? So you want to be not excited to the, state of Jim Carrey running around, jumping up and down and acting like a clown, but you've got to be excited to the point that they want to be able to talk to you. And again, the caveat here is if the person on the other end is of low energy, you don't want to go too high either because you're not going to establish a rapport like that. You've got to connect on a level that they can resonate with, right? That's if you're interested in doing business with them. Once you talk to someone on the other end who's extremely low energy or who's going to bring you down, maybe you may want to rethink whether you want to continue the conversation or not, but that's perfectly fine if you do or you don't. So establishing that mindset of, hey, you're going to get a great outcome from this call, as well as having those positive emotions before you go into that call will help you to also, if the person hangs up on you or swears at you and hangs up and you get a really negative response from, hey, you cold calling me, bang. How do to come out of that really quickly, if you're in a positive mindset and your emotions are good and you go, well, okay, that person wasn't for me, you can make that next call without being affected, without taking that negative energy on board. So this is a really important step before you even think about, what words you're going to use. So keep that in mind. I've spent about 5 minutes talking about this because this is extremely important. It will actually set the whole stage for the whole conversation, whether it's going to go smoothly, whether it's going to go perfectly, whatever perfectly means, whether it's going to yield a positive result is dependent on this groundwork of having a positive mindset and positive emotions. So let's look at what we're going to go through in this slide, in this slide pack. And it won't all be tonight. We'll get through as much as possible. It is about 3 past midnight in Canberra. I've only started about 10 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, but let's see how much we can get through, and we'll continue this over the next few videos to get to, after this slide pack, we will go and actually create a cold calling script that you can copy. The template, I'll provide the template that you can adapt and then follow along with. Okay, so what we'll go through is the introduction, introducing the call or introduction. Oh, there's a bit of a spelling error there. That's okay. Introduce the call. Establish certainty in the mind of the customer. Set the frame for the conversation and expectations. I'll go through each of these in depth as we go through them. Qualifying the customer. Go through the solution, present the options available, close by asking the customer to select from these options and clarify what the next steps are. And then finally, we will, if appropriate, offer a referral incentive. Okay, so the introduction to the call. What is the introduction to the call? Basically, you introduce yourself. You begin with engaging with a warm introduction, clearly stating, who you are, the purpose of the call, and what company you're calling from. Establishing rapport requires you to listen, okay? So it's important that you listen to that person on the other end. What energy are they in? Are they frustrated? Are they, really resonate with that and don't, even though we'll create a script, it's only a guideline to fall back on. It's not for you to be a robot and read the script word by word. You've got to be engaging in the call. And even in the introductions, the first few seconds, they will make a decision whether they want to continue that call or not. It's really up to the customer if they want to engage or not. And they will make that decision and either hang up on you or continue to listen to you. So, I won't go through all these points, but it's basically establish that rapport as much as you can in the first few seconds if you can. And it's a difficult thing to do, but there's ways to do it, right? So establishing certainty, the next step is establishing certainty in the mind of the customer. So, you're phoning, and we're going to concentrate mostly on cold calling because this is one of the kind of dreads of business owners. And if we can get through this, you can phone anybody, right? So early in the conversation, you've got to really you have to establish certainty about your business, about you, about your track record, anything that you've done without bragging, but being able to say that in a succinct manner, some of the outcomes that you've produced and really pat that down so it lays that foundation for the customer to go, hey, I'm interested in listening to you right now. Okay, so understanding their concerns at the beginning of that call is really important. So it establishes that trust. If the customer wants to continue this conversation or not, you'll be able to hear it in their voice. If there's a little bit of hesitation, it's really important that you establish that certainty early on in the call. So let's move on to the next part. It's really setting the frame of the conversation and expectations. So, like I've introduced this slide pack and I said what we're going to do and what the outcome is, right? So at this point, you're either interested, you're going to continue listening to me talk, even though there's a lot of pictures in there, a lot of text, and I'm just doing the talking. You're going to be interested and engaged in this webinar, if you want to call it, to the end. Or if I haven't established the fact that it is something that's going to provide some benefit for you at the end, you'll probably drop off. So it's important that you set that frame for the conversation in your call early on. So, go through what you're going to go through in the call. Also set the expectation from the customer, ensuring that they're aware of the topics covered and potential outcomes of the discussion. So it's really, once you do this, the customer will be a little bit more comfortable. They're not going to, especially if they know that you're not going to try and push something on them that it's not for them. This is a conversation. There's a two-way process to this call. So once they know that, you've established that trust in the customer's mind that you're not going to push this on them. If it's not for them, great. We've had a bit of a chat, we've got to know each other a little bit, and then we can end the conversation politely and move forward with the day. So it's important you set that frame. Qualifying the customer. So before you go completely into the conversation, it's important that you qualify the customer, right? Just take a drink of water. Qualifying customer really means seeing if this product that you're offering is for them, right? Whether they're able to take it up or not. It might be a budgetary, budgetary constraints in there. It might not be a perfect fit. So if you can establish that early on in the conversation, you can guide the conversation to a soft landing and happy kind of closing, where you say, well, this product might not be for you. And then you may, at that point, refer someone else who can provide a better product or a product that's more suited for their business. Now, if you establish early on in the conversation that this product is for them, great. Okay, and then from there you can kind of take the time to steer the conversation in the right direction. In terms of qualifying the customer, there's certain questions that you can ask, and that will guide the conversation to find out what it is that they're really after without trying to push any particular solution at the start. Okay, so I'm just going to get out of the slide. So we are up to about slide 8. Going through the solution. So we may just wrap it up here today. So going through the solution based on the customer's requirements. So you basically need to be a little bit on your feet at this point, right? So you may have a number of different solutions that you offer, but based on what you've heard through the qualification process, you've got to be able to articulate the best possible solution the customer is going to need, and clearly articulate how your product or service can solve those problems that the customers voice through the conversation, through that qualifying process, and then use solid examples of successes that you have in similar situations, so they can kind of again establish more certainty that the product that you're offering is going to be of benefit to them. So when you go to the close, it will help them to be able to make that decision a lot quicker because you've already established that certainty. You've already, reinforced that through the conversations that you've had that this solution is actually going to solve the problems that they've got. So we're going to wrap it up there tonight. Mainly because I want to make sure that we cover as much as possible, and give bite-sized pieces you can digest, and then you can come back to these videos, so you can understand what the sales call process is all about. So tomorrow night we will go through the rest of it, presenting the options available. Close by asking customers to select, clarifying what the next steps are, and the referral incentive. So thanks for joining in. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Harsha. I'm from Cindog Media, where we help you to market even better. If you need some help on anything marketing or sales, including developing sales scripts, or going to the point of even making sales calls, we can find the people for you to do that. We already have some people who can do that. So if that is something that is of interest to you, get in touch with me at contact@cindogmedia.com. You can phone or SMS 0426 794 189, or you can simply go to our website, which is cindogmedia.com. And at the bottom right, you will see this little pop-up. Click that and you put your name, mobile, and message, and click send, and you'll be able to send a message through to us where we can respond and help you to solve whatever marketing or sales problems that you have. So thanks for joining in tonight. I will catch you tomorrow night. Have a wonderful night.